Hey, I'm Jonathan, and I live in London, England.
Hey, I'm Jeff, and I live in Perth, Australia.
Together, we are Ekko and Sidetrack.
We produce music that sounds like this.
And this.
And even this. This podcast is about music, creativity, and everything in between the giant space that separates us.
Welcome to A Band Apart with Ekko and Sidetrack.
Hey man, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good. I've woken up a little hungover. I drank for the first time this week yesterday. So I woke up with a bit of a hangover, but I went for a walk, explored my suburb a little bit more, just kind of going down some roads that I'd never been, which was quite nice. It's very leafy and beautiful. I found a street that I'd love to live on.
Did you speak to any people on that street to see if anything's available?
No, but a guy was painting a house, which I gazed up at him painting the house for a couple of minutes, and I admired it.
That's beautiful.
A guy told me to fuck off though.
Why?
Not that guy. I was just walking down towards one of the high streets, and he was standing on the corner, and I think he yelled out something just at the cars. He was like, "There's like, watch out for the cars," or said something like that. And I just looked at him and smiled, and he kind of like stared at me as I walked past him, following my like locking eyes, and then he's just, as I just walked past him, he's like, "Fuck you."
Wow.
So,
would you say you're rubbing off on the community?
yeah, I think I'm becoming one of them. You know, I'm part of the community now.
That's sick. So what were you doing when you were drinking? Were you on a Zoom conversation or?
I was on a Zoom conversation. I spoke to, man, I basically spent nearly 12 hours on Zoom yesterday.
Are you
We're going to be
serious?
completely honest. Yeah,
Are you addicted to Zoom? Are you Zooming? I'm a Zoom addict.
I'm a Zoomer. No, because so I basically planned to.
That's why the guy told you to fuck off. He could tell you're high on the Zoom.
He's high on Zoom. No, so I was talking. I'd planned to meet up with a couple of my friends in Perth and have a drink, and of course it was 8 p.m. their time.
Yeah,
means it's 12 p.m. my time. So I basically woke up yesterday, worked out. I basically like did one of the 45 classes, and within 15 minutes had eaten and was sitting down having my first beer, chatting to people. And so I spoke to them for 5 hours and got quite festive and just laughed. And then I continued speaking to Tony and Tash, and then I had a break. Tony and Tash are my friends that live in London. Big up Gran Calavera. And maybe I had an hour off. I started watching a film called Lost Souls, which is a documentary about the film Island of Dr. Moreau and how disastrous it was for the director Richard Stanley. But we can talk about that later. And then I jumped on a quiz.
I haven't done one of those Zoom quizzes ever.
They're fun. I mean, it's just with, again, friends, and someone puts it together on a PowerPoint. But it was fun.
That's sick.
And man, I wanted to talk about. I think I maybe messaged you in the week how important. I messaged you yesterday. Sorry, how important it is for. I think you're probably similar. For me, it's very important to have others around to laugh with and to joke with.
This is going to be a running subject of the podcast. Like,
No.
I know what you. Yeah, sorry, I interrupted. Sorry, I was trying to make it funny because I wanted to make you laugh.
So, like, I mean, the input. I need an input. Part of my humor, or part of the way I work with gonna work with comedy. That's so pretentious.
So you basically do crowd work. You're very good at crowd work. You're saying.
No.
Is what you're saying.
No, but I need.
You're less of a storyteller, more of like a crowd work guy and like a one-liner. So you.
No. No, but you need input, I think. Or like my funny muscle, the way it contracts and reacts is,
and throbs.
and throbs is from input from other people, and like, you know, things other people say and me making fun of them
Or stuff down it.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think
I think I kind of know what you're saying. You're like,
I don't know if I'm representing that.
Your part of your language that you communicate with is humor. So when you get around a group of people, you talk a lot of smack and like
Yeah.
you're very funny. You're very funny in general, but you definitely get some when you've got material to work off with other people, you really step into your own. And I suppose being social, no matter how you're social, whether you're social on Zoom or in person, you get a chance to flex that muscle.
Yeah, I think it's also just not interacting with that many people. And like as soon as I'm around people, it's like, oh, finally I'm going to make fun of this, or I'm going to joke about that. When you're by yourself, it's sometimes hard to make yourself laugh when there's not the other person, when there's not someone to bounce off.
Yeah, totally. I've actually been trying to not make myself laugh, but like using laughter as like the base level of like, that's as bad as it can get. Like you can laugh about something.
Yeah.
You know, like previously you can, not sure if we've talked about it on the podcast, but like you can get angry, and anger would be like you get angry about something. But if the same thing could happen if you're in a good mood and you'd be like, I can't believe that guy took that parking space off me, or, oh man, I can't believe how much traffic there is. It's crazy. And if you actually laugh out loud, you completely dissipate that energy that's potentially building up to cause you some sort of anguish.
Well, the energy is there. It's just how you get it out of your body.
Yeah.
I guess, and you can decide to frown or smile or laugh or yell.
Yeah.
They're all kind of semi-interchangeable.
I was speaking of your Zoom conversation, your marathon, shall we say. I read something today on National Geographic that was talking about the fatigue that's caused by Zoom conversations. Particularly, it's video conferencing, it's everything like that. Because they reckon part of it is we're so used to the non-verbal cues that we give that communicate like 80% of any conversation. You know, like if we're standing there and you're not looking at me, I'm like, hey, what's wrong? We don't start talking. We don't keep talking.
Yeah.
Normally, I'd be able to see your hands as well. I'd be able to read your eye contact and all sorts of things. But with Zoom, particularly multiple people, you're trying to observe what lots of people are doing, and it's like overstimulating your flight or fight response and your like systems that are good for navigating the nuances of communication. So it can be quite fatiguing in that regard. It's like running your system at like 5 times the speed, if you will. That was a pretty rubbish summary of a National Geographic article.
That's okay. Hey, it's a Sunday. Let's just roll with it, buddy. Let's just roll with it. I was talking to a guy on Friday about a similar kind of thing. He works in a office situation, and he was saying that there's a lot of miscommunication on some Zoom calls, and some things like it instantly makes everyone more direct. So people are sometimes having these like miscommunications. Maybe someone's thinking that someone else is a bit annoyed at them or was a bit rude, when that rudeness isn't rudeness. It's literally like a technical problem. It's maybe their screen froze and they didn't get the first part of the conversation, so they just hear the directive. the direction rather than
Yeah. Or
the
maybe
preamble or anything.
or maybe
like that.
they're just talking, and it's a lot easier to be impersonal as well, because
Yeah,
you don't have to be there with the person. How did you feel drinking? You haven't been drinking for a little bit.
Yeah. I didn't drink since Monday, so it was.
But then you drank for 12 hours like some sort of animal man.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but I'm not. Yeah, I did. That's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did.
So how do you feel after your booze marathon?
I feel zoom and boozing Saturdays with Jonathan. I feel good. I feel surprisingly good, and I'm gonna go right back into not drinking during the week. I think that's totally a doable thing. I felt my brain. I'm probably about 40% smarter, or at least 40% less.
The fact that you can't find the word is so good.
Oh damn!
It's
nearly
okay.
had it.
That's all right.
No, but I feel good, and it's I was definitely more productive is the wrong word. A bit just sharp and
Just
ready to
on the ball.
to do things. Yeah, found it easier to concentrate, focus, think clearly, that type of thing.
Yeah,
It's
nice.
it's not like I've got an alcohol problem, but if you have 2 or 3 beers a night.
Yeah, you're definitely not waking up as sharp as you, or even just being as sharp. Especially it's like some of the work that we do is out of office hours, and you have to dedicate a lot of time out of the standard hours to get certain things done. Speaking of getting things done, I've been working on our next single, Jonathan, and things
How
are
you feel about it?
coming together. Working with vocals is something that will never get easy. And you really just have to dive in on it. And there's a lot of back and forthing, like, oh, I didn't push things hard enough. That needs way more reverb. This is like, it's, and every single time, like, I wrote myself a little guide last time I did them, but every single time there's like new things to consider. And this is the first time I've ever dealt with like such a great amount of, harmony stacks. And I mean, there's only like 3 or 4, but I'm like, do I tuck them in? Do I turn them up? Like it's a thing. So that's what I've been learning that in the studio and sitting here plugging away at working on the new single, and it's just vocals. It's that and it's also that time in the track where it's like essentially everything else is done, and now it's just finding that balance of everything else. And I think it's close, and then you're like, oh, I'm miles away, and then like.
But it's do you think you're not really mixing the vocals into a finished mix, though, are you? Like, the musical mix isn't complete?
Oh, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing it all.
Oh, so you're out of the vocal, the new project, the separate project for the vocals comping. You're out of that project and now back into
mixing the music. But then I'm like, okay, and now I've got a decent balance, and I work out where now I've mixed back into the vocal, and now I'm going to go work on the vocal again, because there's some bits that I'm not happy with, some pushes, and I didn't push things hard enough, and I think I could push it less, and other things. So I've gone doing a bit of back and forth, which may not be the most effective way to work, but for this song, it seems like this project has just had a lot of back and forthing. There's a lot of stems, and and for anyone that's listening, stems is when you bounce like audio. It's not that sitting there as like completely editable MIDI and synthesizer stuff. It's like it's actually just like raw audio, which in some ways can be really really useful. But it's as things get towards the end, you like just want everything to sit nicely. But I think it's coming along, and I can't wait to share it with everyone else. Really excited about this tune. I was going to say something else. Now I've kind of
about the song.
It's funny as well when you have to work on a tune, you have lots of ideas for other songs as well.
It's classic. That's a classic symptom of resistance.
Yeah. So I've like jazzed. What kind of word am I going to use? I've recorded some little things that I want to turn into a song. So I've put that idea down, and I've got some other nice chords that I want to turn into a song. So I've given myself a little bit of space on those, but at the moment,
Could we try something this week? I'm assuming that you've recorded a voice memo
yeah.
for the song. Can you send me the voice memo, and I will try to interpret the song?
The voice memo is a vocal idea, so
Oh, I thought that was like a riff.
I can send you. I've got another one that's a riff, so maybe I could send you that.
Yeah, do it. It just might be interesting to see how you heard it in your head to be able to do the voice memo, and then if you send it to me, see what my interpretation of it is.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Actually, that could be quite funny. Um,
And then maybe in next week's podcast we could play both things.
oh yeah, it could be quite.
That's not even a planned out idea. That's just on the cuff. That's what creativity is.
Look at you, you're flying 40% more intelligent on coming up with things off the cuff. The live stream on Friday was really good. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, tell us about that. Jet, you did a live stream with Shock One, aka Carl Thomas, in his
basement house. Yeah, so every Friday at 6:30 Western Australian time, which is like GMT +8, we'll be doing 90-minute live stream. We're gonna play some music, have some chat, and do some things. Yeah, it's really fun. I've never done not in this COVID-19 times, done a live stream, and people seem quite responsive to it. And I was a little bit not reluctant, but like apprehensive about like, are people overstimulated by live streams? Have they seen too many? Is it? But I think there's always something new to see, and if you can have some fun and bring some fun to it, then it's going to be something that people want to hang out and watch. And we want to share new music with people. We want to have interact with people, and it's a really nice way to get people involved in something that's more like I think we kind of wanted to make it more like a TV show than just a straight DJ set, which is kind of fun.
I think that's good. I think that's part of the a point of difference to maybe some other people's live streams.
Yeah, and if people want to watch it, it's Twitch/The Real Shock One, and we'll be going live every Friday night essentially, and we'll see what else happens.
I think to call back to what you said about people being fatigued by live streams. I think we underestimate. I know I underestimate people's hunger for music and to see artists they like. Like, there's been a couple of 24-hour live streams or 12-hour live stream festivals.
DJ EZ and Prototypes and a few other people.
Yeah, and just people. Yeah, people are just if you've got a few friends. I can't remember if I said this on the last podcast. But if I said this on a phone call with someone, if you've got a couple of friends and you take some pills and get drunk, people seem to be pretty happy to just dance around in the living room to music and just enjoy it still and still be a part of it. It's not going to a festival, but it seems pretty bloody close.
Yeah, especially the plethora of music you've got to choose from. On any weekend, you've got a lot of people doing streams and performing and stuff. In Perth, the social distancing thing just got raised from 2 people being a meter apart or whatever to now 10 people. So you're allowed to have gatherings of 10 people. So I can imagine next weekend, there's going to be a few, barbecues of 10 people or parties of 10 people, which is pretty cool. People getting together for a beer and
who are you going to get together with? Are you going to get together with what's the first party you're going to go to?
I have no idea. I need to speak to some people. I went and caught up with some mates down on the coast today, had a beer, and there's families down there, and people are out and about. Perth's been pretty like we've been really well behaved, but like, you know, you go for a walk down the coast or you drive on the coast, and there's a lot of people out and about.
Yeah.
Someone told me that bike shops, my mate was getting his bike fixed, and he was chatting to the guy who owns the bike shop, and he goes, we typically run on selling between 7 and 10 bikes a week, plus accessories and servicing and stuff like that. Last week we sold 160 bikes.
Wow. I think it's going to make people healthier, this whole thing.
It has to, because it makes people very conscious of their health. I reckon people will be smoking less, because after all the things about the coronavirus affecting, you know, people with lung problems and other things like that. I think it's got to make you more aware of your health, as it brings to the front your mortality.
Yeah.
And it becomes blindingly obvious what simple things you can do to actually make yourself a lot healthier as well. Like, hey, I'm going to start eating better, and I'm going to do some exercise, and I'm going to wash my hands heaps. I think some people weren't doing some of those things.
The not washing hands thing is crazy. Like, I've seen people not, at airports especially, like, go to the bathroom and then just not wash their hands, and you're looking at them like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And you like, I tailed one guy.
Are you some sort of washing your hands police?
No, I just wanted to get like a visual representation of what he was then going to go do with his hands. And I don't think he was on the same flight. He was at Perth Airport. I was leaving somewhere. It's not when we came to Europe. He didn't wash his hands. He just grabbed his bag, went off, and then like picked up a child and hugged him. It was obviously his own child. It wasn't
his own son doesn't care about being covered in his dad's piss. That's, in some religions, that's ceremonial.
But it was just, I don't know, it's just disgusting. I just, especially at an airport, I don't know. I feel like the amount of germs that must be hanging around an airport toilet is just beyond belief.
If the amount of germs is anything like the amount of pubic hair on fucking airport toilets.
What is the deal with that? Honestly. Fuck.
It's like every person that goes in there plucks one out and drops one there to mark their territory.
Oh, it's ridiculous. How fragile are people's pubic hairs that they're just falling out in that number? Like, honestly,
I don't think I've ever dropped a pube on them.
Neither do I. I mean, you wouldn't be conscious of it, but it's not like you go to wee and then like a bunch just fall out.
Oh, there we go. How is your pubic region, since we're down there again?
It's fine. It's good. It's great.
Yeah, if you
it's healthy.
Lush.
Budding.
Spring has sprung. Hey, have you been watching Midnight Gospel?
I've still only seen the first episode.
Oh man, you got to watch it. Midnight Gospel is Duncan Trussell's and Pendleton Ward's new TV show on Netflix that has it basically takes conversations from his podcast and turns them into a story almost. Or like, his little character is a guy who has a interdimensional device that allows him to travel to worlds, and he goes and interviews people, but the interviews are actually previous episodes of his podcast, and it's a really great juxtaposition between like cartoon absurdism and psychedelic cartoon and like spiritual and academic talk. I really like it, man. I think I think it's pretty special.
Yeah. No, the first episode was sick. I need to dive back in there.
Get to episode 2 is really good, and then episode 3 I reckon so far is the best.
Who's episode 3 with?
They're all people I don't really know. The next one is with you. This number 2 is with Raghu Marcus and another woman. So it's more like on the Buddhism tip. But yeah, it's and then there's a guy who's like a practitioner of magic. That's magic with a K. That like
yeah.
Kind of like,
I think I remember that podcast.
Yeah. Oh, he's He's done a few. But yeah, it's really funny. It's great. Have you been? You said the other day when I asked what had been watching on Netflix, you said you'd been quite nostalgic lately. So what does that mean?
So that means, so this past week I have watched. What have I watched?
Oh, you don't need to give me a few lists, but just like
No. I'm just trying to think. Oh, that's right. I finished off. I watched Return of the Jedi, which is the Star Wars, the third of the original Star Wars films, which is a big nostalgia.
The Jedi Strikes Back.
A new Jedi.
Hopeful Jedi Strike Force.
Hopeful Jedi strikes again. That's like a newspaper headline. Yeah. So I watched that, and yeah. I think I just was maybe feeling nostalgic, because I posited that it was because I was by myself and feeling kind of unconsciously a bit stressed about the whole situation. And that was my way of kind of getting back to my family. Like, I'll watch a movie from my childhood that makes me feel like I'm with my family, or maybe something like that. But I mean, last night I watched a completely new film, and I'm going to now make a bit of a list of films that I've just never watched and always resisted watching.
Yeah.
You know what? All these as well, I went on my little nostalgic run directly after I watched Midsummer, which is an unnerving film. So I think I was kind of.
What did you find the most? I'll tell you what I found the most concerning about that movie. The thing that stuck with me after that movie.
Yeah.
And you can tell me what stuck with you after that movie.
Yeah.
The most disturbing thing from the whole movie I found was the opening scene, the first 5 minutes, with the voicemail from the sister and the messages from the sister, and then it was revealed that and this does nothing for the plot, so I'm going to tell you. I found that so incredibly disturbing. Nothing else in the movie kind of rocked me that badly. I was like, oh, that's not bad, but I found that really sickening. And really disheartened. Like, I think I was really sad as well.
Yeah, that was really sad. I also just did not like the way she was treated by her boyfriend. I think that her boyfriend is just such a piece of shit for, like, when they have the conversation about he's kind of wants to break up with her, and then she calls him screaming, and then she's just pushed aside so much. I felt that was a bit gross. The whole, basically before they go to Sweden, is actually quite gross. Which I think that's part of the Ari Aster's kind of deal, is like he seems to make some of the normal stuff seem, or like the real world, if you will, seem kind of gross. And then towards the end of the film, when they're in Sweden, and obviously they're in this weird situation, but there's lots of there's lots of positive music, there's lots of happiness,
it's like
during all this crazy stuff. It's like those two things juxtaposed, and it's like the ending of Hereditary. Like the ending of Hereditary is quite positive for a certain group of people. But it's not necessarily it's not like those people are evil. There doesn't really feel like there's any evil people in his movies. He humanizes the normally evil group, if you will.
Yeah, no, it's
quite well.
I think he does.
And it's the same. It's the same with the Midsummer. The way that ends, it's quite happy.
I thought Midsummer was about 20 minutes too long. And there was some bits that there's some fat you could have cut. I think the relationship between the boyfriend and some of the friends could have been a bit firmer, so you felt like more was at stake when people started going missing. But let's not spoil it for anyone else. Tune in and watch Midsummer if you want a scary movie for your
Scary movie tips with Jeff and Jonathan Henson.
Yeah, hi, I'd like a plate of big tunes and a serving of piping hot bangers on the side.
I think it's time for the weekly song.
Okay, you're choosing this one.
I am choosing this one. So this is, yeah, I'm not going to talk about it much. Jeff, the song is Concrete Jungle by DC Breaks, the Skantia remix.
Oh, sounds like a heavy one.
Yeah, it is. It's a bit of a heavy one for you. So let's dive in. Let's take a listen. All right, that was Concrete Jungle by DC Breaks, the Skantia remix. Jeff, thoughts and feelings?
That was brutal. Man, what a ride. I kind of like the machine gun style bass on the drop. And then I found the switch ups at the end of every 8 bars or whatever it was, to be kind of interesting. But in general, I don't know. That's a club that needs to be. That's a club. That's a song that needs to be. I need to hear in a club and be like, "Oh, that's sick." Like listening to that on my headphones, I'm a bit like, maybe it's just also the my headspace that I'm in. But like, I'm just like, whoa, that's a lot. And it's also like, if it feels like a lot, it feels like a few ideas as well.
It's a 2 a.m. tune for sure. That's difficult to listen to at 10 p.m. on a Sunday night after you've been listening to music. I think it's the type of song for us that we'd hear in a club. We'd hear someone else play it and be like, "What the fuck is that tune?"
Yeah. It reminds me a little bit of Bass Symptom.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely that like impact tune, and Skantia do that so well. Those like sick impact tunes, but it's I kind of like it. There's a few. I don't know if I can talk about what I'd change or what I'd do differently, but like,
sure,
it just seemed to. It's like they've got that machine gun kind of like vibe, and then it's like, and then it changes up to be like more sparse, just very briefly, and I wonder if they couldn't have like doubled down a bit more on one or the other, because it does, even the intro feels a bit, it feels quite busy for a Skantia intro. But yeah, I'm a big fan of their other stuff, so it's interesting that this hasn't perfectly tickled my ridge.
Okay, that's fair enough. You don't have to absolutely love every song.
If everybody likes it, then nobody loves it, Jono, and that's the goal.
That's
you want to kind of polarize people, and what drew you to that song to choose it for this week's?
I think just because listening to some music this week that made me prick my ears up and go, oof.
It does make me want to go to a nightclub though.
Yeah, and I really like Skantia's production. I think he nails it with this crossover between, neuro-y jump up stuff that seems to be going on. I've been really enjoying his production and Amanu's production. Like, I don't love all the songs, but there's something about that production. Who else?
It's interesting.
Abyss.
Abyss.
Sorry, is
Abyss.
Same thing. Like,
Mark.
Yeah, synthesized drums, synthesized. I don't know. There's a certain amount of simplicity to the ideas.
That's interesting that you're into that at the moment, because I would say maybe that's a bit of something you haven't been so into in the past. Like, you're very much into organic sounds, and you tend to write more organically and like smoother, kind of like for lack of a better word, happier sounds. So for you to be like drawn to this, that's probably going to add a bit of an extra edge to your production and some of the stuff you're working on.
Yeah, because I think I'd like to apply some of those. I've been messing with synthetic drums, and usually I always change them out for organic ones. But I think it's interesting to learn some of those techniques, and especially that mix techniques. For example, I think I complicate mixes quite quickly because I want layers and textures, and I like how things interact with each other in a kind of CERN smashing lots of particles together and seeing what happens kind of way, rather than having two elements interact and controlling how they interact, if you will. So even, for example, like on the one, I think in the Skantia tune, it's like a kick, like a little distorted bass sound, but also like a laser with a bit of tail that cuts directly for maybe the snare or maybe the next hit. Like there's surgical elements in his arrangement that I quite like. I mean, you watch some videos on Noisier or Mephius. It's the same type of stuff. It's all surgical moves and very motivated moves. And I think, in the past and still now, there's still like an element of randomness or randomness in the way that I work. I'm trying to do that less. I think with that song, that last demo I sent you, it was about, I'm going to work on that today, and kind of, it's a simple idea. I'm going to leave it simple, and I'm just going to then make a series of purposeful decisions on what I want to achieve at certain points, and go in that kind of surgical way, rather than chucking a pad over the whole thing or something like that, which I'd probably do in the past. Like even with the intro for that demo, for instance, I think there's too much stuff going on in the intro because I was just vibing. I was doing my vomit, like, oh yeah.
I've got some feedback for that, but I'll write that on Slack. But it's interesting that you say that, because I would argue the opposite. I think it's like the intro is really good and the drop seems like it loses some energy. But I'll write some feedback on Slack about that. We don't have to discuss it in public.
Misha Buddha.
This morning I had a this is a bit of a segue away from the music and everything, but like this morning I had an interesting conversation with Mum about religion, and about some of the spiritual nature of maybe things I'm into and you're into, and then versus some of the stuff that she's into as someone who has a Christian upbringing, who was the daughter of a minister and a missionary, and we were just talking about like the similarities of like the God character. Like she's like, do you think you believe in God? And I go, I believe in God, but I probably think of it more as like the universe, and like the universe provides, and different things happen because you get messages from different things, and it's more about following your gut and like zeroing in on a frequency that feels right. Like it's about energies and stuff. And she's like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like I would say that's like God guiding you. And I'd say, yeah, essentially. But the way I think of it is like, it's like the universe and your reactions to the universe guiding you. Like you're finding your point, you're zeroing in on it, and then it's like you find a little thread and you can follow your golden thread. And it was just interesting that like thinking about some things that have happened to me in the last 18 months, 2 years, and being like, I think they've been really I've like found my golden thread a little bit.
I think that the mums, I mean, I think what we believe and what she believes is probably pretty similar. I mean, it's the same for most religions. I think it's all just different language for the same feeling.
Yeah, that's what I kind of suggested to her.
And I think whenever we've had conversations with her about it, she, maybe as she's getting older and as we kind of talk about it more, I think she's coming to understand that that's okay, that we've got a slightly different interpretation to her by the book Christian, the Bible is real kind of.
I don't think she's got the Bible is real, but she's definitely got the Christian perspective to things, whereas we might.
Yeah.
The way I put it is that her operating system. She's the way she interfaces with God is that she has the Christian computer. That's how she communicates with God. I've custom built my own computer from parts of lots of different things, not all religions, some just like ways that I think and like mentalities that I have and moral things I have. And some of it is Christian, some of it's probably Buddhist, some of it's scientific and whatever. And I've cobbled together my little like radio device and I've turned it on. I'm like, that's how I communicate with God. So it's like that's my operating system for communicating with God, universe, whatever.
That's a good way to describe it, actually, because I do think it is very important that you've got some sort of way to have a discussion or to be able to be part of the discussion, whether that's a Christian computer or a cobbled together computer that you've got, or even if it's just a little shitty cell phone from the 90s. It's important to have something that you can interface with something. I don't want to call it God, or I don't want to call it a higher power. It's just, it's important to be part of the conversation.
We've talked about it before as like having a bit of knowledge in whether it's of Christianity or Islam or anything, which you could have just picked up in high school through religious studies, or read in a book or listened to a few podcasts or something like that, allows you to think about spirituality slightly differently to someone who just shuts off when anyone brings up something that could relate to that realm.
It's basically comprehension, isn't it? It's being able to apply, we can apply the knowledge that we had coming from a Christian upbringing. We could apply that to how, again, we interface with things as we got older. I had friends at school that during Christian studies class would just be like, oh, religion sucks, like it's not even real, or that type of thing. And I, not that I didn't believe that maybe a bit myself, but I was still interested in the application of religion in how one thought. How does it make you think? If you believe in a higher power, if you believe in God, even like the power of prayer. If I would pray before if I was nervous about a drama performance, or if I was nervous about a music performance, or if I was nervous about a test, I would pray.
And praying is essentially manifestation.
Yeah, exactly. And it's almost talking to yourself.
Yeah, I'd like this to happen, and I'm gonna like will that into the universe. And it's like you attract bad things if you focus on bad things, because you can either focus on the good or focus on the bad. One of them is going to come true, and you're better off focusing on the good because there's more. You're bringing that energy into you. It sounds very woo woo, but I don't know. I think I've seen some good examples of that recently. And
it's similar to. It's similar to people talking about what's that bullshit book?
The Secret.
The Secret. It's basically the same principle as The Secret. Think about good things, or like manifest something, and it will happen. Prayer to God is basically like that. The Secret is obviously not.
I've never read it.
it sounds like it promised too much. I haven't read it either, but from what I gathered, it was really saying like, if you think this, you can make it happen. In terms of
maybe not involving enough work.
Yeah, and like the practical application. Like, you know, if you say, I want to be a great piano player within a year, you can be if you play the piano for 8 hours a day for every day, and you can manifest that. But you also have to do the work. If I sit in my room and go, I want to be the best piano player ever in a year, and nothing happens, and I'm just kind of waiting for the universe to manifest it to me, that's not going to happen.
It's interesting, actually. There's they've done some studies on basketball players, like 150 basketball players who they split the group in half, and half the group practiced single-handed free throws, and the other half didn't do any physical practice of that application, and just spent like 30 minutes a day thinking about that, and they both groups improved.
Yeah,
which is quite strange. Like, so visualization is a form of practice.
Yeah, for sure. There was a conversation between Joe Rogan and Scott Adams, and Scott Adams talked about he would write every day in just a journal or something. I can't remember what he was trying to do. I can't remember if it was him trying to quit sugar.
It was I'm a healthy person, and he was trying to quit. He was trying to get his weight down because he was very into sugary drinks.
He was drinking lots of Coke. And he's like wrote down, I'm a healthy person, and manifesting that idea. You know, it's like saying you love yourself every morning.
Yeah, which is something you can do, actually. I learned recently through a friend that you can like affirm things to yourself by talking to yourself in the mirror, which is quite cool. Like if you like when other people tell you how fantastic you are, you can actually tell yourself you're fantastic, and it can give you the same zing.
It's like, I can't remember if we've spoken about this on a podcast, masturbating in front of a mirror. Yeah. Same thing. Loving yourself, being with yourself when you feel possibly the most vulnerable. It's very difficult.
When you're masturbating in front of the mirror, do you put the mirror on the ground and lower yourself down onto it?
That's the only way to do it, in my opinion.
Or do you do it propped up against the wall?
It depends what kind of mirror you've got.
What if it's a weird one that goes into another dimension?
Then it's even better. But, it's like the idea of the ultimate, like, practicing self-love. If you can practice self-love in everything that you do, your life will exponentially get better. And I think it gets a bad rap. Even just saying practicing self-love is a bit
woo-woo.
Makes no, not woo-woo, but it just makes me feel a bit like, ugh. And that's the reaction people have when you say it to them. But it's so true.
It's very important, and it's a blind spot for so many people, because it makes people go like, oh, I shouldn't be worried about that. I should love other people. Like,
or you feel stupid. You feel, if you go into the mirror right now and say, Candyman, Candyman, Candyman.
Don't say it, John.
He will come out and kill you. No, if you go in there and say, like, I love you, insert name here. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And just keep saying, I love you, and you start to smile and really looking into your eyes, you will have an emotional reaction.
Yeah.
To it. And like, fuck, you do it for a minute. You do it for a minute.
And then pull your pants off and masturbate.
You'll have this emotional reaction which is tangible. And it'll make you feel immensely better. I need to do that stuff way more. As I say this, I don't think I practice enough self-love. And I think I often probably practice a bit of self-hate.
Yeah.
A little too much. And that's something I'm really trying to work on, is to be more loving of myself, because I've also always had a lot of love for other people, but I think that's been like a outwardly projection I've had, because I felt like I didn't deserve, I didn't really like myself to a degree, or something like that. I'm trying to work on that kind of stuff now, and getting benefit from, meditating on that thought, and telling myself I love myself. I've been giving myself hugs recently. That's one way that I've been doing it, because I really miss hugging people. I'm a fucking big hugger.
Yeah. That is
And
hard.
it's amazing. You can still, you get a decent grip on yourself and just being like, "Ugh, I love you," and you get a little bit of a hug from yourself, and that makes you feel. It releases something. It does something to your body. It releases some endorphins or some dopamine or something that you have an emotional response from, and sometimes that's enough to make the day a bit better, or to put you in a better state of mind.
Then you masturbate.
You find the mirror and masturbate, or if you've got two mirrors, you line them up so you can see your front and your behind,
And you create that like effect, that like infinite mirror effect, and you're just in the middle. Just
oh wow, there's a million of me.
well, I'm gonna go look for a mirror, and you should do the same. Now, I'm gonna get back to work on this vocal. Lovely to chat to you.
Okay.
Let's do it again next week, and stay safe. Give yourself a hug, and remember, Jonathan, you're a great guy, and you're doing great things.
Thanks. I think you're a great guy, and you're doing great things too. And I love you.
I love you too, man. See ya.
Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. Make sure you subscribe to us on your podcast app and keep up to date with all new episodes. They're going to be coming out once a week. We are Ekko and Sidetrack on Facebook and Instagram. On Twitter, we are Ekko Sidetrack. Go listen to our music on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, YouTube, or wherever your ears consume happiness. Lots of love, people.